For my mathematician, I decided to do Julia Robinson. She was born December 8th, 1919 in St. Louis, Missouri, and her parents are Ralph Bowman and Helen Hall. She is the youngest of her two siblings, and she has an older sister. At the age of 2, her mother had sadly died. At the age of 5, her family moved to San Diego after her stepmom insisted that the girls have a proper schooling. The family did lots of traveling and were always on the road, and since they lived in the desert, there wasn't a proper school for them to attend to at their young age. Julia often got sick with different diseases, but never let the diseases stop her. She always pushed through and overcame with any disease that she had. At a very young age, her father ended up committing suicide after all of his savings were wiped out by the Great Depression. He had owned his own shop and worked to save money and retired because he believed that he had so much money saved up to provide for the family for many years to come. But in 1937, when the Great Depression happened, he lost everything. Julia would miss lots of school due to her always being sick. There were times when she got so sick that she was bedridden for many weeks at a time, sometimes months. In her final year at school, she was the only girl in her mathematics and physics class, which that really pushed her and also helped to push the gender roles that were put into place during her schooling. She originally went to college to become a math teacher, and she transferred to Berkeley during this time, where she needed lots of assistance to pay for college because of her family not having much money because of the Great Depression. And so she became a professor's teaching assistant, where she worked on many projects that her professors started and ended up finishing them better than what the professors would have done. Her biggest influence was not college, but it came when she read a book entitled Men of Mathematics by Belz. Her profession was statistical mathematics while teaching at Berkeley. She began teaching mathematics at Princeton in 1946 after she married her professor at Berkeley, and was no longer allowed to teach there. She proved that the arithmetic of rational numbers is undecidable. In 1950, she took up politics and wrote many papers on general recursive functions. She focused largely on the content of the language and arithmetic. She died July 30th, 1985, a year after she had died. Her husband set up a fund for Berkeley graduates in mathematics that they entitled Julia B. Fellowship Fund. After she died, a majority of her work was then published, which allowed for many researchers after her to use her work and further not only their knowledge, but everyone else's knowledge. Some interesting facts that I had found was that she was active in many activities, like she wrote books and worked on creating equations and studies that other professions started. Even though she was diagnosed with many diseases, like I said earlier, she ended up pushing through and continued with her mom's legacy of being a teacher. She pushed past the civil rights movement when she continued to work even after she was married, since that was seen as morally wrong, and women were supposed to stay home as caretakers. And in her work, she always looked for simplicity and elegance. If it wasn't simple, she didn't like it. One thing that I decided to make was a gooey butter cake, and it's a thin, dense cake that's similar to a brownie. It's originated in Julia's hometown of St. Louis, and it contains yellow cake mix, butter, eggs, vanilla, cream cheese, and powdered sugar. It is something that I thought would represent Julia well, because it's simple, and that's what she always looked for in her work. And these are my sources.